David Davis, let me come to you. I mean, we're slightly flying blind here. I mean, you've got the report. It only came out about an hour ago. I see you've already managed to annotate. Or did someone do that for you?
A bit of both.
Bit of both. Overall, what's your impression?
A not bad report. I mean, he's, you know, the lines he uses in the introductions. Current law is fragmented, obscure, under constant challenge, variable in its protection for the innocent, undemocratic, unnecessary in the long run, intolerable situation. It tells you that he's realised that this is not what the ISC described it as, one of the best oversight arrangements in the world. I mean, he's actually done the work and studied it properly. Some of it I don't agree with, but that's by the by. In a huge report like this, surprise, surprise. The really, really important central feature here is his recognition of the need for transparency, proper oversight, and not just trusting politicians with it. I mean, he says, for example, that Intercept should be judicially approved.
Yes.
The Home Secretary, I mean, the story has it, and I think it's accurate, that she approves 2,500
Over 2,000, yes.
2,500 a year. That's
in her spare time.
That's 10 a day. You know, now one intercept should take quite a lot of time to consider and challenge and argue with the person who's presented the case. How on earth she gets through 10 a day and do her job is very, very interesting to debate, shall we say. The Five Eyes, all our allies in the war against terror, not all our allies, but our nearest allies, all use judicial approval.
And that would help if Britain wanted to get information from a service provider overseas, if it's judge approved rather than politician.
Because they'd have judge approved. And I think, I mean, I have to read between the lines very fast here, but I think what Anderson's pushing towards is an American style, what they call the FISA court. This is the court that actually gives judicial approval to pretty much everything the agencies do. Now, that will be a real improvement. He's also talking about pulling together all of these little bitty pieces of, you know, the intercept and communications, the surveillance, the intelligence commissioners, all of whom have about one member of staff. Put them all into one big, powerful organisation and really get a grip on this. That would work. That's a real improvement.
Now, the ability to intercept, particularly modern communications, is uncontroversial in the sense that if there's a good case for doing it, most people would be in favour of that, provided it goes through a proper procedure, as you've been saying. What about this metadata issue of the ability to access data of our communications that is stored somewhere in the world?
Yeah, Richard Clarke was a very good intelligence officer, but he was being a
Richard Barrett,
Richard Barrett, sorry, but he was being a little bit disingenuous. I mean, General Hayden, NSA head, said of metadata, it gives us more than intercept data in some senses. We kill on metadata, unquote, you know?
He said what?
We kill on the basis of metadata. The drone attacks use metadata to find people, find who they're talking to, and so on. So it's not just when you're making a phone call. They could tell, you and I both carrying our mobile phones, that we're sitting next to each other talking. Now, we know publicly that, but that's a very, very major intrusion on privacy. One of the other things that Anderson says is that serious metadata collection should also be subject to judicial warrant. And that's a really, really important breakthrough, if you like, in a government report.
Is that feasible?
Yeah.
That the security service would have to come every time they want. I assume we're talking about a situation of not where they just go on a fishing expedition. I assume we're talking about when they have reason to do it. On the other hand, a fishing expedition could actually catch a fish.
And indeed there is argument on the part of the agencies that what they call data mining. They basically sell a whole database and start looking for people. I mean, let's be crude about it, and well, they wouldn't do anything like this. But you know, somebody called a Muslim name and with associations with certain sorts of people and so on. When the Americans did metadata analysis, they used concentric circles of analysis. Went out to 1 million people. So if you have one suspect, you could be triggering
because it captures
so many.
So many.
You go,
and the CC field.
You know, I have 100. You're in it. You have several thousand. He's in it. He has another 500. You know, so it gets out very, very fast, and that's why you've got this. The sheer power of this technique is both important for defeating terrorism, but it's also important for restricting the power of the government, so it doesn't have this, and it can't be misused. And I'm afraid there are cases of misuse, not typically official misuse, but typically misuse by officials. If you take my distinction.
I get the point. What's your thought on this?
Well, I only skim-read it as David has, and I focused really on the same areas. I think David Anderson's done his usual incredibly thorough job. I think this has the great advantage that it is comprehensive and really every aspect has been covered. And the thing that I focused on was his judgment on RIPA, the Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act, where he said that now it's been mucked around so much, it is understood only by a small band of
Well, he said it already started off pretty obscure.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Final question, David Davis. Where do we go from here?
Well, there's also a court case underway, a judicial review of the Data Retention Act that the government pushed through in one day, remember, last year, on a supposed...
This was their fallback
yeah,
act.
and the reason they pushed it through down a supposed emergency. They've been talking about it for 3 months. Then they brought it to Parliament, and it wasn't implemented for 9 months. So it wasn't an emergency. They didn't want to talk about it. But so we've got court cases going on that. But I think what's going to happen next is there's got to be a big joint committee. The last joint committee knocked down the last Snoopers Charter. The next one, I think, will effectively write it. I think I will seek to be on it, because I think it will write the next communications data bill, and the next bill, and actually get it right this time.
Okay, we'll keep across it. Let us know when you finished it.
I will, yeah.
Can I have your annotated copy? It'd save time for. I like people to do my homework.